It's a good win. There's a lot of people. It's like Woodstock, except everybody's got their clothes on.
Don't eat a damn snack.
You're like my wife when you get in space. You just get lost.
It's ahead! Short steps are better than long steps. That's the only time in your life you're going to hear short is better than long. It's ahead!
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to 614 Headsets, the weekly podcast where we say football is unconditional love. Tom Brady himself said that. The GOAT, we couldn't agree anymore. We are three high school coaches from Columbus, Ohio, the 614 Headsets. That's where we get our name. But I just want to thank everybody for following us so far, giving us a subscribe, giving us a rating. We're coming off a record month that we're super excited about. It looks like this month we might even top that as well. Thank you, everybody who has reached out, commented, shown some love, and just told us that you've appreciated something about what we've done. We do it all for you. And if you're listening right now and you haven't done it yet, please take out your phone. Please subscribe to whatever you might listen to us on the most. Give us a rating, whether it's the stars or a comment or anything. That helps us. It helps our sponsors and different things that support this, and we would be much appreciated. So, fellas, how's our week been? How's it been going?
Money. This has been a great week. It started Monday for us. You guys got out of school a week earlier than us, so this Monday started the week for us, and it's just refreshing when you get back out there. And there's something about we'll complain about it as a staff, but there's something about painting that field. Right, painting your practice field, getting the lines ready, and then seeing all our kids walking up and just getting ready to roll. It was a really refreshing week and just ready to start that journey with those guys.
I'm excited for football to come around. Did you guys see got me a little more hyped for football coming up. Did you guys see they released the new college football playoff schedule?
Oh, yeah.
The 12-team brackets. It's sick. Games on like Friday and like mid-December, playoff games, and like 3 on New Year's Day. Then like 1 on a Thursday in January. That made me even more excited for football in general coming up. But it's only.
Let me tell you what else made me more excited is just all the new updates coming out for the game, the NCAA game. You, Kyle, I know you don't have the Xbox no, but you're gonna have to get it back. It's gonna be unreal.
It's not financially worth it. I don't get enough time. The last one was my last one I ever owned. I'll probably never own another gaming system until my son is up there. I'm with y'all in spirit.
It's going to be bad. I'm going to lose a lot of sleep.
I wish, and I'm a little jealous. That game was very close to my heart.
I'll bring it over.
Hey, you know what? That'd be good, man. Maybe we'll do a little something, a little content out of that. Make sure everybody subscribe. Go to the home of 614 Headsets at 614headsets.com. Donovan, let everybody know what we're getting into today.
Listen, we got a great one with Coach Rolfes. And for those of you who don't know, we're doing this. We just recorded the show. So we got a little pep in our step because you're in for a great episode. This is a great talk about Coach Rolfes' specific offense and how unique it is, but really getting into the art of the third down, how you play call it, how you design it, how you practice it, how you scout it, all of the above from the offense and defensive standpoint with Coach Sayers talking in there. So I think you're in for a great one. If you're into this, take notes. I think this is a great one to learn from or just listen to if you want to. So I think you're in for a great episode tonight.
And then we got the thought of the pod. It's Ryan's turn. I guess that makes I got next week. So I'm going to start cooking and thinking about it. But Ryan, what are you challenging? What are you saying? What are you bringing to everybody today?
I think for me, the start of football season, I love like starting my days with daily quotes and different things like that. And I actually read like a lot more than just one. I just go through a bunch of quotes and look at what we have. And one that stuck out to me was perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, then we can catch excellence. And my question to you guys is, who said it?
Did you write it down on the sheet?
Nope.
I really don't know. I'm probably going to know who it is when you say it, but I don't know.
Will. Is it a coach?
Yep.
Is it Nick Saban?
Nope. Vince Lombardi.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. It sounds Vince Lombardi. It's interesting because, like, in our offensive philosophy, we have something very similar. So I love me some Lombardi.
On that a little bit this week, heading into that first week of practice for us, and remembering and being able to express to the kids, it's not going to be perfect. What we do right now is not going to be perfect. What we do as coaches right now is not going to be perfect, but if we're chasing to be perfect and we're trying to be perfect, then we'll be able to get to excellence and be able to be successful. And like I keep telling our kids, is success isn't a mistake. It's come with all the hard work. And I think you guys could attest to that, right? Your success that you guys have had the past 2 years at Gahanna Lincoln is not a mistake, right? And I feel like you guys have chased perfection, but still haven't been perfect. None of us have been perfect. Nobody's went 16-0. No one's went to the state championship game and won the state championships, but you're still chasing perfection, if that makes sense. So it's just been something that I was sitting on this week and saw that quote, and I was like, it's a perfect one, I think, heading into the season.
Well, I think like it too from the standpoint when you talk about it, like if you're going to do something, do it. I think there's a lot of people today and kids, they'll do something, but they don't put their whole heart into it, or they don't do it to try to be perfect or try to make it as best you could. And I guess that's my mindset. If I'm going to start something, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to build something, if I'm going to whatever, I'm always going to try to do it to the very best I could do each time. And I think anything you do is worth doing that.
I think too. I think we all understand, like, you can never be perfect all the time in football. Whether it's your record, that's the record's the difference, right? You can't have a perfect record, but you can't always win a rep or win a play or score the bomb. I think if coaches, but specifically players, at least understand that, but still want to try and be perfect in every aspect, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for your program. It's a good thing for the player, because it's one thing if you're like, I'm going to be perfect, I'm never going to make a mistake, and then just be distraught when it happens as a coach or player. But to recognize, I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm going to strive to do it. And like when a mistake happens, you move on. You just strive for that perfection still.
I love it. Chase perfection. Great job, Ryan.
There we go.
And
thank you, Vince Lombardi, RIP.
Thank you, Vince Lombardi, for having all the fire quotes as we get rolling. But hey, it's a great time to let everybody know that this show is presented and powered by Fundraising University-Ohio. Fundraising University-Ohio offers a variety of fundraising efforts that helps football teams run profitable, effective, and fast-paced fundraisers designed to raise the most money in the shortest amount of time to reach their fundraising goals. Fundraising University-Ohio is locally owned, operated, and with their 6-step blitz system will help your team maximize profits. Brent Maxwell with Fundraising University will sit down and help you strategize and execute your fundraiser. If you're interested in us running a fundraiser for you, please contact Brent Maxwell at the letter bmaxwell at fundraising.u.net or 740-501-8946. I know he just got started with our boys over at Westville South. I reached out to Coach Callen. He said everything went great and their blitz is getting ready to get started. And I'm excited to see how his experience went. But so far, he had nothing but positive things to say. So reach out to them now. Your summer's just getting started. You got all your players back. It might be a fantastic time to get that fundraising started for your next season. But everybody,
hey, here's the thing. I'm ready. This background is not going to be here long for me. Right? Next week is going to be a way better background. You remember the mountains last year on vacation?
Oh, he's grabbing these wheels down.
I'm hoping there's a sunset.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
Lakeland, Florida. So we're on this lake called Lake Gibson. So I hope I have an alligator right behind me too.
You better be doing next week on a floaty in the lake, cigar, laptop on your lap, or else we're kicking you out of the studio.
Hey, we have a pool right in the back. I actually might be in the pool with the laptop.
Yeah, if I'm, you got to do it for the show. But hey, everybody, enjoy episode 48, The Art of the Third Down. Here we go, man. I am fired up to have Coach Jared Rolfes on, the offensive coordinator from Oak Grove High School in North Carolina. He has his roots back here in Ohio from Salina. I say that right, Coach, this time?
That's
Salina, right. Ohio, right? And
that's
you
right.
know,
probably called it Selena, didn't you?
I did.
You did.
But I've been so excited for this one because Coach Jared and I have been going back and forth together on Twitter now for the last month or two. He had reached out and commented when Coach Mike Bath was on an episode. That's how our early interaction started. I had the opportunity to listen to him do a modern triple run game based on the Liberty offense. He did like a clinic Saturday, and I'm in the car with my wife. She's like, what are you watching? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's just football. And watch that. And we converse from there. And I've watched some other things he's done. And he's just a really great presenter. He's a really good coach. I'm excited for him because he's a really good family man, spiritual man, different things like that. I'm excited to have him on us tonight. So, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. We talked a little about who you are and your roots to Ohio, but why don't you take everybody through your journey,
Sure.
Maybe at Salina and beyond to where you're at now?
Yeah, good deal. Let me preface this. Mike Bath is a Salina graduate, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah,
great,
I know.
good friend of mine. He's an awesome dude. So I've talked to him quite a bit. Anyways, so I grew up in Salina, Ohio. I was a 2001 graduate, football player, track athlete. Had a great football experience. Grew up during the time frame, late 90s and early 90s when I was a kid, when Salina was rolling. We had a lot of success during that time frame, and then it trickled off a little bit into the early 2000s. Got a chance to really, as a kid, see a ton of success in the football realm, and guys like Mike Bath and those guys that went on to play pretty elite level college football. It was pretty cool to be from your hometown and that sort of deal. Went on and just knew I wanted to be a coach. I was always motivated by athletics. Came out of a kind of a broken family situation. My parents were divorced when I was in high school, and sports was the adhesive that kind of kept my life together during a pretty difficult time. And so I think I just used that as a model as I progressed forward into college and wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and had a few early opportunities in different sports. Even when I was in college, I coached basketball with a buddy of mine and just enjoyed it, and then jumped right in my first year of teaching, and then got in pretty quick. I was a middle school coach my first year, middle school, high school type teacher. I'm a special education major degree, and have taught pretty much in that realm, a little bit of PE as well. And then again, middle school my first year. Then I was at West Jeff High School right there in the Columbus area for the year 2006 as an assistant, which is probably where most of my philosophy started and my early goings came from. And it was a great experience. I probably could have stayed there forever, but as you all know, when you get married and there's things that happen, and obviously there's different goals and whatnot, sometimes you have to move. So my wife was a graduate student at Northwestern University in Chicago. So we moved up to Chicago for a year, and I taught and coached at a huge high school, about 4,000 students, great experience. And then went on to Salina to be the head coach for 5 years. And then we moved out here in 2013, and I've been both a head coach and an assistant coach here. I'm going on year 5 as the offensive coordinator at Oak Grove High School. Great place, new school built in 2017. We get a great mix of kids, really good kids. As I think we all know, in public education anymore, it's becoming more challenging at certain schools with not just kids, but hiring coaches and the different things that you're faced with. This is a place that I feel like I can be myself and really enjoy the people I work with. And we've got a great staff as well.
Hey man, the first thing that came to my mind is when I hear West Jefferson, the ugliest colors I've ever seen.
Brown and yellow.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate that. It comes to my mind every time someone says that.
Yeah. So everything that we had when I was there, which was cool, was Wyoming themed because they were the Cowboys. But the problem for me was, I grew up as a Salina Bulldog, and our rival was the St. Mary's Rough Riders. And so I had to be a West Jeff Rough Rider or whatever. And that was hard for me to take all that in. So I get it. Not the most ideal color. The colors we got right now, the blue and whatnot, it's like electric blue. It's pretty tight. A lot better than yellow and brown, I promise you.
Yeah, blue's a good color. I like my green and gold. I like green and gold.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But the blue is fire. Johanna has some good stuff, but they went to black on black. Tell them, Kyle, huh?
Storied Rivals, 2024, baby, with Storied Rivals. Coach alluded already on my questions. He doesn't even know it's coming. Let's get into pick 6 with him.
The Pick 6 segment is powered by Storied Rivals. Sports media, championships, friendships, and life lessons are among the most meaningful parts of the athletic competition. They are passionate by preserving them by offering the most unique highlight experience available.
That's right. And Storied Rivals delivers your team's content with services designed to change the way you experience these unforgettable moments now and for a lifetime. Storied Rivals now offers a complete team apparel and player shop customizable to your program. Contact them by email at info@storyrivals.com to schedule an appointment with a member of their team. First question, Ryan. Let's get into it.
This is completely off topic of football or anything like that. This is funny. We talked about this
question.
Hey, we were just talking about this as a coaching staff. This is funny. Or a couple of my coaches, not everybody. But it's getting pretty hot out. And at night, we've had this argument a ton, me and my wife. Are you sharing a comforter, or you guys got the split blanket system as well?
Oh man, that's a great question. Okay, so my wife gets really cold and I get really hot. I don't even use the blankets most of the time. So she gets the whole thing and I just hang out. So I don't even use the comforter.
We're the split system. We have different comfort. We have
started out
hilarious.
Together and then it split. Like, yeah, 100%. When you put that question in, I laughed because you know what? It made me feel a little bit more secure in my relationship because I got to thinking to myself, like, my wife and I probably split the comforter situation maybe 2-3 years ago. And I started thinking to myself, like, how many couples do this, man?
Hey, I'm going to keep it real. Like, Amanda and I started that immediately, like when we first moved in together. But also, I found out, too, a couple people don't even sleep in the same bedroom as their significant others.
We sleep in the same bedroom, but my wife likes a heavy comforter. I like a sheet with a light blanket. I like that combo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A light thing. I'm not doing all that extra.
Ryan, thank you.
That's a good question, Ryan.
I feel much better about my relationship. I appreciate it.
Sayers, that was a good question. I laughed when I read it this morning. Coach, my first question: if you go to one venue to watch a football game or one like atmosphere, where would it be? College, NFL, you name it.
Ohio State. I'm a huge Buckeye fan. That's obviously in my blood, and I've been to a ton of games there. My wife's entire family graduated, including her, graduated from there. So spent a lot of time early on going to football games there and whatnot. Just obviously, it's in your blood, so it's a place you want to be. Cleveland. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, so that'd be a close second. Even though I've seen them play live, but I've actually never seen them play in Cleveland. So that's coming though this year. It's coming because my brother said it's next level.
Coach, I'll tell you, I love the shoe. I love other spots, but parking your tailgate in the Muni lot by like a 7 a.m. and getting to experience that, and then waddling into the dog pound and hoping you can keep your eyes open at that point is a fantastic experience. And when you do it, I want you to text me and let me know how it is, man. Because
best fans in the land, buddy.
We did it for years.
Though. The Brown Stadium is electric, and now that they're
best
better,
fans in the world.
Oh yeah, I love it.
All right, Coach, tell us how you met your wife and then how you asked her to marry you.
Wow. This is good. We'll stay on the Salina High School topic. We went to high school together.
Okay.
She was 2 years younger than me. She was a great athlete, soccer, basketball, that sort of thing. So we connected in the sports realm. She actually dated one of my best friend's brothers. And so that's how I knew her. And then progressively over time, this sounds really bizarre. I was so into sports that like, I wasn't really like into dating and all that stuff when I was like a sophomore and all that whatnot. But as I got older, I got more interested in that. And then my friends wanted to talk me into asking her to go to prom when I was a junior. She was a freshman, so she had to have permission from her parents because it was a junior senior prom. So we went to prom together and the rest was kind of history. But the plot twist in asking her is, wow, this is a long answer, is so there were a lot of key moments in our relationship. And so we set up this series of stops around Salina where there were different family members present where they actually read her letters that they wrote in respect to like our relationship and what happened at that event. And one of which was at a church where I'd gotten saved. And then there was another spot where we met a lot at this restaurant. And then at her house, her siblings were there, that sort of thing. And then we ended up meeting at one location. Everybody showed up, and then I proposed to her kind of in front of everybody. So
that's cool.
Fire.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like a Hallmark movie.
I did something similar. We did a scavenger hunt. And so I had all these folders, right? And in each folder, I had cut pictures out and wrote things on it. And in the folder was different things. It was like where we first met, where our first date was, like different things.
That's
like
crazy.
I did the same thing a little bit. So that's cool, man.
Ours was just in Cancun. Mine was cool, though. We did our first night we got to Cancun on our trip. We did an all-inclusive. I had a photographer already set at the place. So we got dressed for dinner. We said we had a photo shoot, went and took a bunch of photos. Then the last ones were on the beach at the sunset. And then there's still also a video. They had a videographer. And then I proposed to her like with the sunset in the back on the beach.
Cool,
it was.
Man. I mean, you paid for a service. That's not that creative, but
I'm not as cool as you
actually didn't really pay for that though. That was stimulus money.
Any chance I get. All right.
Stimmy check.
Ryan, next one.
All right, my next question, Coach. I was scrolling through some of your Twitter the other day, And I was just looking at all your stuff, following what you were doing and just trying to get familiar with you before we had the show. And then I also saw like pictures of flag football, right? There were a couple of flag football pictures. So my question to you is, Kyle and I got little kids, right? I got a little boy, he's 3. When's a good time to start them with flag, and when's a good time to have kids play tackle, like in your opinion? Like, what's your philosophy on that?
This is great. This is fun. All right, so here's my take on that. So let me start by saying this. Flag football is the most fun I've ever had coaching. So we take like high school concepts and we run mesh, we run Y cross, we do all this stuff, and we absolutely trash people. It's so much fun. And so that's one of the things I've enjoyed being around my son.
I love that.
We practice tonight, believe it or not, coincidentally, and then we play in the semifinal and hopefully the finals on so Saturday and Sunday are the semi and the champ. We won it all last year. So my son's 12. So we've been doing flag probably since he was, he's probably in the 3rd grade. He did some of the YMCA stuff at first, which was a little bit less competitive. Now he's in like the NFL, like network stuff, which is a little bit more competitive. It's more of a county league here, but there's several leagues around our area. But the tackle stuff, we didn't let him play until the 4th grade. I've just having seen different things. I don't know that there's a perfect time to let him in or not. Here we have kids that play as early as the 1st grade. Obviously, I think the collisions are pretty controlled for the most part when the kids are below the 6th grade. But as they get into middle school and beyond, you can start to see, just watching different levels, the significance of difference in body types. Like my son's a 6th grader. He goes to a 6 through 8 building for middle school. And when I drop him off, the 8th graders are twice as big as him. And he's not a small 6th grader. So there's some things that we played into it with that. But I would say for us, it was 4th grade. We just felt like physically he could handle it at that point. All of his buddies were playing too, so it was about the experience. And we've been doing flag and whatnot, but he plays a lot of stuff. I think the big thing is kids playing a lot of sports and just enjoying how to compete and learning how to win. Because I can remember the first sport he played when he learned what it felt like to lose and just watching him. That was like a pretty unique experience as a parent and a guy who's a coach and that sort of thing.
Yeah, my son's 3 and he played soccer and he was just a feral animal out there. Didn't know what he was doing. Didn't even care at all either, win or lose. I was out there yelling like a crazy dad. Like, get the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a swarm of bees when they're doing that. My youngest plays soccer. It's see ball, get ball.
Oh, yeah, it's wild. But no, that's good insight. I just was wondering that after I scrolled through and saw some of the football.
Coach, my second question. Now, if the answer is Ohio, then you got to give me like your second best one or next one. But if you weren't coaching in North Carolina right now, what state would you want to coach in? If it's Ohio, you got to give me like your second close one. I figured it might be, but I was curious.
Man, I won't say Ohio just because I've already done that. Obviously, if I were to be in a different state coaching at the high school level, I'd want to go somewhere where I could make more money. And so it'd probably be like Georgia or Texas or something where football is extremely relevant. When you put those in the ranking classes of high school football, those 2 states in particular. South Carolina's pretty good. They pay really well as well, pretty competitive and whatnot. So, yeah, I would say one of those 3.
Love it.
Thinking about Texas, man, those second sports, man. I look at what they advertise a little bit, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm good, brother. I don't want that second sport. This is enough for me. Coach, this kind of brings in the last question for me, the unique perspective of being in Ohio, being in North Carolina. What are maybe some of the similarities or differences between Ohio football and
I think just like any state, you're going to have kind of the hotbed areas where there's predominantly some teams that are typically pretty good around the cities and that sort of thing. We experienced that here, Charlotte, and then where I'm at in the Triad region, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and then in Raleigh. So those are the hubs, but then there's those sprinkled places throughout the state, just like in Ohio, where you find that kid or two or see that kid or two that ends up making it big, who was maybe at a smaller school. I think you see a lot of similarities in some of the, and this may be true in every state, but I'm just comparing the two. Like I grew up in Northwest Ohio near Coldwater, Marion local, Versailles. I'm naming repeating state champions right now. And so we're in a place where there's a few small schools like that here as well. One is Reedsville High School, and they're like the king of small school football here and just dominate, just like those schools do as well. So different clientele, but similar thing where it's community-based, town shuts down. And just having been near and a part of my brother's kids actually go to Coldwater. And so I've gotten in on that sort of thing. And so it's neat to see those parallels. But I would say even the recruiting aspect is similar. Ohio probably ranks a little higher in terms of high school football and production of player quality, but North Carolina has been very good over the last 10 years in terms of putting players out that have made it to big time schools and obviously the league as well.
I like it, man. Let's get into it. Let's get into the main topic here with Coach.
100%.
All right, main topic tonight is the art of the third downs, what it looks like, practicing it, calling it, game planning for it, talking about it, you name it. So excited to get into that with Coach. And the main topic for tonight's show is powered by First Down Playbook. First Down Playbook is the nation's leading playbook and play design software with over 35,000 professionally drawn plays and edible team plays with notes full of playbooks to start from. You'll be on your way getting an edge over the competition. First Down Playbook can be your entire team management system. And when we say team management system, we mean community management system. This isn't just for your high school team, but for middle school team, youth league, you name it. They've got schedules, scripts, custom quarterback wristbands, and more. If you use the code headsets24 or mention our show, you'll receive $100 off on the already most affordable option in today's game. The link is provided in our show notes. You can see that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. So I'm telling you, Coach Stout can agree. Coach Sayers will agree. This is one of the best softwares out there for your team management. It really is.
We just started using it. We started messing around with it as a staff. You know what I mean? We all created our accounts and everything. I already saw some of my staff members putting stuff in there. I'm excited to use that though. Like I'm super excited, especially with the play cards and everything that's in there that helps you organize for practice and everything.
Yeah, man. We've been, like I said, like we got our middle school coaches on it. We're getting our youth coaches on it. I've been using it with the play of the day. It's been fun. I'm not going to lie. I've probably used more playbook software than anybody, from Vizio to Just Play to you name it to now this. And this one might be the quickest, most grab it and go, easy to draw, but still have some very customizable options, right? Like I think all of us have reached a point with Huddle where the Huddle plays look terrible and the drawings look terrible. And this is the most affordable thing. And I just love, like you said, the community side, how you could literally have your youth coaches, your middle school, all the way up can all be on this system together. And you can pick who gets access to what playbook and what you do. And there's no limit to users. It's a great system, man. And I'm excited to keep playing with it and doing it. And like I said, man, if you're a coach out there that wants to do more, you should definitely check them out. But let's get to the bell of the ball, Coach Rolfes, man. And I had the opportunity, and this guy blew me away when he started talking a little bit about his offense the first time I mentioned. But I know your offense probably a little bit better than these two, and maybe who's listening, because I've had the opportunity to listen a couple of times. But go ahead and just take a moment and maybe explain to everybody, like, what is unique to you, or what is your offensive system as we get going into, before we even start to even talk about third down.
Yeah, I think the best way to kick it off is like you would see us line up and just assume us to be a standard spread offense based on formations and things that we do before the ball snap. But when the ball snapped, we're different. We are a gun-based triple option team, triple double option. We do a ton of option-based stuff. And everything we do is completely layered. Anything from play action pass, the way we get to some of our RPO stuff. And so we've over time built this through different avenues and tied a bunch of worlds together. I grew up as an air raid guy. When I was in Salina in particular, I went through the Tony Franklin training and went to multiple clinics, threw the ball. In one game, we were 44 of 66 for 589 yards or something crazy like that, and rushed for 5 yards during that game because we couldn't run the ball because we were in inside zone and maybe inside zone the other way, I think, were our 2 run plays during that time. So this is a conglomeration of that time frame as well as the option principles of old. So it ties 2 worlds together, the new stuff and the old stuff. But I think what it does is it forces a different level of preparation for people, because you have to defend every aspect of what we do from the width and the depth of the field. And it's so different in preparing for us than a standard spread team. And again, we offer old school principles because you have to defend the dive pitch and quarterback and whatnot. So that's the synopsis. We're a lot like Liberty University, if you want a comparison, and we're Coastal when Chad was guys were there as well.
Those are great. And that's where we connected and talked. And it's great when you have a mobile quarterback like you had in years past, or usually do build around. But as we get into the art of the third down, and we're going to make this about third and short, third and medium, third and long. Coach, why don't you go ahead and pull up some of the things you want to talk about to kickstart this off about how we maybe plan for win that crucial part of the game.
Yeah, some of this I can just talk about note-wise. So here's the big part. Number one, I think the title may be wrong here. So like it's third down, but the down that matters the most for third down is actually first down. And so first down is where what we use typically what we call our normal down and distance calls. And our goal is to be plugged on first down. And so when you think about mathematically, now you're at 2nd and 6, right, with 2 downs in front of you before you have to worry about any punt scenario whatsoever. So I think the plot twist in this podcast is this is really about what you do on first down to get so that third downs are 6 or less in respect to your play calls. We also do not, in addition to that, kind of working towards third down, we do not mess with second down as a separate play planning area, if you will. I know there's a lot of people who have a second down call section on their sheet. I don't do that. It's a normal down and distance call for us. Our goal is to get 4 on the first one and then go from there on second down to reduce our third and whatever, so it's below medium or less. So we don't script second down calls. And third down, we break into 3 categories. 0 to 3 is short, 4 to 6 is medium, and 7+ is long, which is what most people do. So our goal is to stay out of third and long as much as possible. And I think the big part of that is the way we kind of plan and prepare and the way we use our system to play into our favor so that we can be in third and short or on the lower end of, I guess, third and medium as much as possible.
Coach, when you see, or maybe not see, but do you have any mistakes that you think coaches or just people in general make when they're planning for third down or thinking about third down in general? I think sometimes people look at it as it's an all or nothing kind of thing, or maybe they don't think about it too much first and second down like you talked about before. Any major mistakes that you see or just differences that you have?
Yeah, I would say the 2 biggest mistakes that I see, and I guess as I've gotten older, I've been doing this for 18 years, seeing like younger guys come in and maybe call the JV offense or watching other coaches call an offense, is really what they do on first and second down, what you just referenced. And I think when you don't have the ability to stay on schedule and to get to third and short or third and medium, I think that's where play calls become really tough. We were playing a team one time and we were done talking offensive, so I was watching our defense. And this team was like super effective running the football. And first down, they don't run it as well as what they did. And then the guy just throws a vertical route and they're inside the 15. To me, there wasn't a rhyme and reason. The incomplete pass, now it's 3rd and 9 or whatever it was. So it's like, you got to think about situations that set up the coming situations. So I've been able to work with some of our younger coaches on understanding that and how we use that process. Then the second part is I think people like try to change or don't have enough built into their system to like really compensate for third down. Where do defenses change the most? Typically on third and short and in the red zone, right? You get changes inside the 15 or 20 based on what you on film. And then third and short, sometimes third and medium, you might see a different front or some type of pressure because they're trying to change the game a little bit. So I think sometimes people think they have to reinvent the wheel, which is the second mistake I think people make the most, and come up with something new that they're not good at. And so we stay within the framework of our system and make you defend us. I think as a young coach, I was probably guilty of that, thinking that if I don't have something that's like off the path, like these 15 to 18-year-old kids are going to figure out what we're doing because we lined up in this formation. We all know that's not true. And there's not enough time to relay that from the sideline to the box to the sideline to the field. So I've gotten over that whole thing of all the guards pulling because his butt's up in the air, all that. Like I could care less about that stuff at this point.
Yeah. The cool thing for me is like for me, big part of my off season has been a lot about the situations and I broke down our last 2 years into situational math and things. And I keep referencing this Developing Offensive Game Plan by Brian Billick. It's a fantastic book. If you've never read it or you want to read it. But one of the staggering things is we're talking about third and short a little bit right now is they said the most important thing to remember is on 3rd and 1, like a true 3rd and 1, you're probably on that situation once a game. That was like years worth of data from like the college and NFL. And I think sometimes, like you said, we have a habit to over plan for certain situations and just think about, hey, 1 or 2 calls. What do my players do the best? What's the best in that situation for the opponent we're seeing?
That's
you know,
right.
what are our kids the most comfortable with? Don't overthink it when you get to some of these smaller situations at times. But Ryan, go ahead, man.
I was going to say, you just talked about, you said what you plan for and stuff. That what I was going to talk about and ask you, coach, is like, what's practice look like for you guys with third down, or like, how do you guys present that to your kids? Like, how are you doing that throughout the week?
Let me back up to the planning off the film, then I'll segue into practice to set that whole question up. So usually after we get the film analysis done, anywhere between Saturday morning to we meet and talk Sunday afternoons at some point. So we have a sheet that everybody fills out. It's a Google spreadsheet. It's really neat, pretty unique.
Does it have P and 10 on there?
Mm-hmm. Does it have what now?
P and 10.
I don't know what that is. P and 10.
P and 10, coach. Maybe it's in Ohio slang. I don't know, but it's your first possession with the ball, right?
No.
It's your first possession, 1st and 10. On our scout sheet, we have P and 10. It's a little bit the same idea is to start your drive right, to get that 1st down and 10 plus 4 yards.
Coach, it's an
inside joke because it was on the sheet, and Donovan for 2 years didn't know what it was. For example, we do the same thing. We do a Google sheet, and we have a section about P and 10, and I break down the defense's P and 10 tendencies, right? Like every first series, 1st and 10, what are they in? And it's very much the same idea about getting the drive started. So we'll carry 2 to 3 runs, 2 to 3 passes, 2 to 3 RPOs for those P and 10s in that game to try to, what you said, the exact same thing. Stay ahead of the chains and start your drive off right with that +4 situation.
Sure.
Coach, before you get into that, like you're talking about your film, how do you guys break that up though with your coaching staff and stuff though, when you're digging into that as you get into talking about this too?
Yeah. So our Google sheet is set up. It's a general film analysis sheet that has sections per coach based on their position. I fill out and answer. There's questions like on one side, then all the coaches are listed on the top. And then it's blocked off according to what they need to answer based on their position. And so then I answer all the questions. So then I look at what everybody puts in there, and there's a suggestions page and that sort of thing. Then we have a second tab, which is our game planning sheet, where I kind of start constructing, and really throughout the week, like runs, passes, formations, motions, all that stuff, third downs, red zone. And there's places where coaches can add their ideas as well, so I can see them, or they'll present them to me, that sort of thing. So that's our first take, is doing that. And then we get into the setup. So like our progression would be like, I do basically the normal down and distance plan prep stuff like on Sunday to have ready going into Monday. I really don't touch third downs typically until Monday, either at school, which they're not usually practiced on Monday, or Monday night if I didn't have time at school. We hit those usually Tuesday, Wednesday. Same with the red zone stuff. I don't usually start to analyze just so I can spend segmented time. And I picked that up from some different people because I think I was overwhelmed at different points trying to like figure everything out too fast. And I just felt like I didn't have as good of a plan. This has helped me plan better. So I spend a lot of time on Mondays doing that. And I'll just break it down. I'll go and look at their third downs and similar formations. It's been a little harder in our current system because nobody runs anything like what we do. And we get a lot of different versions of defenses and whatnot. But you can just see tendencies, and if they're a blitz happy team or whatever it may be, your coverages that they like to run and that sort of thing.
Coach, you're talking about presenting and, well, sharing knowledge with your coaches, but you talk about your athletes as well. Obviously, you want them to understand, like, what it takes to get to a successful situation, to have a chance at success in third down. How do you emphasize to your players, like as Coach Sayer says, like when you're presenting your information for game planning and practicing and everything like that, how do you emphasize them the importance of third down or getting to a successful third down potential without overwhelming them, right? Like you said it earlier, you watch plays happen. You're like, why would you do that? Now you're in a bad situation. You don't always want players to think like that, right? Like you can think like that because you're a coach, you're an adult, you can handle it. But how do you avoid players getting overwhelmed with some of that information?
Yeah, I don't think that we talk a lot specifically about like the relevance to the players of this down or distance. I might with the quarterbacks as the coordinator just to get them to feel what's going on, because I want them to be able to communicate what they see to me and what they think, because they're usually one of the smarter players on the field, especially the kid that I just had for 4 years. I think the biggest thing, and this is going to be a general answer, but I think you guys would all agree, is getting them to buy into the culture of the offense, because then they believe what you do and what we do as a team. And so then they know the things we hang our hat on. Or one of the guys I used to work with before he retired at Oak Grove, he was a big counter GT guy. And if you went into the huddle and asked the kids on third down what they thought we could get the first day, it was going to be counter GT. That's what we believed in at that point. And as we've transitioned, it's become more the option-based principle stuff. But I think it's the culture of what they believe in. And then the down and distance really doesn't matter because that's up to the coaches to figure out and plan for and run accordingly. But again, it's first down and getting to manageable third downs.
I like it. You talk about the players, you talk about the quarterback, the two of us here being offensive coordinators. The big thing I started with our quarterback is we meet 2-3 times a week and we go through film together and go through the game plan. And he's probably the only player that gets to actually see the call sheet and do things. And he'll rank it. We'll go through the cut-ups together and I'll show him, here's my 4 or 5 third and mediums. And I'll ask him to rank them. I'll be like, rank them 1 to 5. Like, what are you the most confident in? What do you like the most? And I put them right down on that way. And that's how I call it a lot of times, sometimes in the game. Unless I'm seeing a big difference or a gut feeling, ask him, is there anything you want to add to the section, which is not much. Every now and then there's a 1 or a 2. But I think that just ranking gave him the confidence, gave him the understanding of about being in the rhythm of the game, like what's going to maybe unfold and to maybe even be visually ahead of it. But it's interesting that you talked about the normal down and distance early and then getting into some of those unique sections of the game plan later. And I think that's really important because the normal down and distance, everyone puts so much of an emphasis on third down. And yes, it's crucial and important, but it's still a small percentage of the actual calls in a game compared to the normal down and distance. So 100%. Coach, let's go through some of these unique third down situations, right?
Okay.
And we can start with whatever you want, third and short, third and medium, third and long. Maybe how do you game plan for it? What are your goals? What's your philosophy? That type of a thing.
Okay. I'll start with third and short. I think this is probably the most critical one because this is the one you want to be in as much as possible. And so I think having a plan that's effective, that's within the realm of your system is really important. So just a few notes to add to the emphasis we place on third and short. It's obviously a heavy run scenario for us when we're 0 to 3 yards. We're confident in what we do in the running game and the different complements we have. And we stay within the core of our run calls. And so we're a big inside veer team. We have a bunch of tags. We can do different things with our quarterback. And so within the realm of third and short, we're going to be a heavy run. So we'll typically plan anywhere from 2 to 4 calls. And I would say most of the time, at least 3, if not all 4 are run plays. We may have a pass that we feel pretty good about. That might be something that leaks out of the backfield or something that we get the ball out quick if we feel like we're not comfortable with what we're doing in the running game in that particular scenario. And then I typically will rank those, and I will start with play 1 that I feel the most confident in. And when we get to the first third and short, that's the one I'm going to call. Obviously, things can change that. You can go to play 2, or you can modify play 1 if they give you a different presentation that you have to adjust your formation. But typically, I try to find that number 1. And there's been games when I've never come off number 1. And there's been games where number 1 didn't make it to number 1 based on what you're getting. And then I think in third and medium, the shift for me typically happens. We go a little bit heavier into the pass, but it's more the short to intermediate stuff for us. And that can include our triple RPO stuff, which is pretty unique. We do that a lot on third and medium type stuff. We roll out quite a bit, quick game, our fast screen game, that sort of thing. But I think a lot of that, going back to what Kyle said in respect to your quarterback, you have to know like your quarterback's ability. At the high school level, you don't choose your quarterbacks. You're getting kids that grow up maybe in your system that can do certain things, but you have to play to their strengths. And so I've had to really learn that even with the kid we had. His strengths were running the football. He was an adequate and a really solid passer, but there were some things in the passing game he didn't do well. And so I had to always keep that in mind as we started to evolve and put him in situations where he was super successful. And some of the stuff, it's like, why can't he do that? We didn't have time to worry about that. We had to put him in successful scenarios. So I think you want high percentage calls in third and medium that play to the strengths of your quarterback because we start leaning more on the passing game in that. Longer mediums on the back end of 6, 5, and 6, we may get into some of our screen stuff. We run a lot of running back, slow screen stuff as well, some rocket screens or some missile screens on the perimeter. And then third and long, the goal is not to be in third and long. It's to be in third and long as minimal as possible. We spend the least amount of time on third and long just because of how we're built. That might sound silly or cliche, but we don't spend a ton of time on it. We carry less in this realm, usually 3 calls or so. Obviously, the most favored drop back pass that we have, we will carry 1 or 2 screens. And then depending upon the distance, we will carry a rollout throw that is something, especially this year, we had a couple concepts that our kid threw really well. And so if it was 3rd and 7 to 9, I was pretty confident in a certain number of calls based on what we were getting defensively from a rollout standpoint. So that's how we break it down and the generalities of, what we would look for in being run versus pass, screen, that sort of thing.
I thought it's pretty interesting. Like we're gonna do this. Like we in camp and early on, we do a lot of good on good scripted 3rd down situations. And what I've noticed over the years is a little bit of like frustration building in kids when they don't convert every play. And when you look at it, just going back into a book I keep referencing, but 3rd and short, it said the offensive probability is 75 to 85%. If you're 3rd and 1, that's how heavy, like getting back to you said, the probability of you converting as an offense, right? 3rd and medium, about 45 to 50%. That's probably one of the most open moments in football there is between run, pass, what you're going to get from the defense. But then 3rd and long, like a 20 to 25%. And so I'm curious and I'm interested of taking those probabilities this year and maybe not necessarily telling those exactly to our kids, like, hey, our goal is only win one of these of the 4, but to put that in a perspective of success, right? Especially if you have a good defense like we've had over the years, to maybe stack it up how we're doing that type of a thing, which is interesting. It's just funny you talked about the 3rd and medium as you get into that heavier, more of a medium. Talk about in the NFL, like in a 3-year study, it talked about there was just 1 run a game in those situations, right? And how that can lead into a heavy pass situation of what you do. So some of these statistics, man, are wild. And those are old statistics probably at this point even too.
100%.
So it's interesting. And I just thought today, when I think about situations, you talked about the run game and things, like I said too, like, what do you do well? And, for me, a big thing is like, how do you cover every gap? Right? You're going to get blitz. You're going to get different things that happen. How do you account for every gap? Your quarterback, for example, a really good runner, right? Ours, more of a pro style type of a quarterback. He can surprise you. He can do well running, but nobody turns on the tape and says our quarterback's a triple option quarterback, right? He's a 6'5", 220-pound gunslinger, right? And so our run game's a little bit different. It's a little bit more about, how do I not put him in that situation to pull that ball? How do I sometimes maybe cover every gap to where we're covered versus blitz and movement and different things? So it's very interesting to hear how the differences tend to what your skill set is and what your philosophy is.
And I think the stats thing, just to add to that, is really relevant. I think if people aren't like analyzing like game to game, your 3rd down and really your 1st down scenarios to see how effective are you. Like for us, like looking back to last year, like on 1st down, and I wasn't real happy with this. Like we were, for +4 gains on 1st down, we were at 49% in terms of converting that for +4 or more. And that was the other thing that I noticed that was a pattern, and that was our pass to run. We ran the ball 26% of the time. I'm sorry, we threw the ball 26% of the time and ran the ball 74% of the time. So in other words, I feel like we need to diversify our 1st downs a little bit so we can be a little bit better. But on the back end, on 3rd down, our overall conversion rate was 54%, which is pretty good when you do the math. If you look at like college football and the NFL this past year, I think Georgia was 54 or 55%. I think maybe the Buffalo Bills were like 49 or 50% for 3rd down. So a comparative that I guess is relevant in that respect. Obviously, they play more games, but I do think knowing what your percentages are. So I'm heavily looking at 1st down and how we can be better on 1st down to bump that 54 closer to 60 on 3rd down.
Ryan, I'm always curious, man. You're the defensive guy in here, and I always
the dark side.
The moment I ever get done coaching, I want to dive in and see how people broke us down and what their scouting report looked like. I'm so curious to see that. But from a defensive perspective, what do you guys do to game plan or win that 3rd down?
I think for us, like just running the reports on huddle, making sure everything's tagged, and then seeing what the number one, the top plays are for those guys on 3rd down. What's their go-to? What's their top formations that they've showed Sometimes you can get a couple films on them. Sometimes you can only get depending on some of the back end stuff. Some people will send you some films so you can run more reports. But a lot of times you have to just look at what those guys are doing the most. A lot of teams tend to have tendencies on third down, like what their go-to formations are and what their go-to plays are. So you really just have to rely on the film. And then also like the feel of the game. I think that a lot of it has to do with like field position wise as well. Like people, a lot of times third down, there'll be changes on third down, like on third and long or third and mediums on based on field position. Third and shorts don't usually change a lot. But I've seen a lot of teams and a lot of OCs change their calls on third down, on the third and mediums, third and longs. And we use the same exact yardage system as Coach was saying here as well. But I think there's a lot that goes into it. You know what I mean? The feel of the game. I feel like defense also, there's a lot of times there's feels of games too. Does a team have a good offensive line? Who can you attack on their offensive line? Like we use a lot of more personnel base of who we're going to attack, right? And who are we going to blitz on these certain downs? Like if it's a third and medium and they throw it, there's a ton of stuff that I feel like goes into how we're going to scout people and how we're going to go about it. And that was going to be my question to Coach was with his offense. I'm a little more interested and intrigued, just like how he explained it at first, but what's your goal at the end of the game to be run pass wise? Like a lot of it, some people want to be 50-50. Some people were 60-40. What's your goal at the end of the game? When you look back, what do you want it to be run pass wise?
Yeah, I don't really get caught up in that as much as a lot of people do. I just to go with what works. I think we're built systematically to be in the wheelhouse of both things. I think that's the argument for us blending old school principles with a new age option look is like in the old school stuff, you know what you're going to get. Under center, flex bone teams are going to run it 99% of the time. And you're going to get that one play action pass or whatever it may be during the game. And if you're playing like an air raid team, you're going to get certain run types and a lot of throws. And so for us, I feel like we can dip our toes in those two different worlds. And we have play action, we have drop back, we got rollout, we've got diversity in our passing game. But the core of what we do is built on old school premises. So it's, you got to stop that first. We were 68% run on the year in total. And in most games, we were obviously heavier in that. But our pass game would swing anywhere from, I would say, 12 to 25 throws a game. The first game of the year, we actually were 3 for 4 for 85 yards and a touchdown in the passing game. So we threw it 4 times. That was by far the least I've ever called passes in my entire life in that respect. So I think it just depends on the nature of the game and having the ability to swing and put your toes in both sets of water.
Coach, it's like the final question I was thinking about, and I have something in my mind for it, but the longer you coach, the more you go through situations or growing pains that stick with you, right? Like learning experiences. And what maybe growing pains have you gone through on third down or just even play calling in general as a coach? And what lessons did you take from those or learn along the way to this point?
Yeah, I think it's some of the things I mentioned. I think it's like understanding the sequence of first and second down and how it sets up where you want to be on third down. And I think as a young coach who learned air raid principles and let's throw it every snap, and then transitioning over the course of time to not just what we do now, but even the hybrid sniffer stuff back several years ago when that was hot. And so you went from 10 personnel to 11 and things started to become a little bit more diversified. For me, I don't know. There's nothing that has really made me like stumble outside of the fact that I think I now understand better the sequence of first and second down, knowing how important it is to stay on schedule so that third down is either non-existent because we got the first down or we're under 6 yards so that it's something we feel confident in calling plays in.
Or just even in general is hey, if it's a 4-down territory, let me know that from
right.
the start of a calling. You watch some different clinics and you do some different things and you get in that territory where a head coach that says this is going to be 4 down. That first down can be a great early opportunity for a big rip because then you still have the next 3 to stay on pace to do something if you want. But my mind goes towards, man, still I have nightmares this day. We were a 3rd and short, ran a power read into a blitz, and that quickly changed my idea about a power read into a blitz on 3rd and short as a young coach one time. And we all have maybe some of those situations that stick with us that kind of change our plays at times. But
For sure.
Coach, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Everybody that is watching us, I know Coach is cooking on a lot of stuff. He's been talking about a book. He's been talking about his own channel here soon. He's got a great Twitter where he puts out a lot of plays of the day related to kind of things that are close to his heart with his offense and things. So make sure you give him a follow on Twitter. But Ryan, go ahead and wrap this up for us, brother.
Coach, thank you so much for coming on, man. We truly do appreciate you hopping on here with us, man.
Awesome.
We could be on here all night, I feel like.
No doubt.
So some shows are not super smooth. I just looked at the clock. I'm like, wow, 50 minutes already. That was a great show. We really do appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
But also all our listeners, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go on all the platforms, Apple, Spotify, look at YouTube, download us, and make sure you're showing us love and shouting us out, doing everything you can to help us grow the show because we love what we do. We love just helping coaches. But also make sure you guys get a hold of Fundraising University if you guys need any fundraising things done before the season. And then also Storied Rivals if you guys need the apparel or you guys need some video. Then our new sponsor, First Down Playbook. Make sure you get in contact with them and use our code to get $100 off. And the best part about it is it's super affordable, way more affordable than any of the other Playbook platforms that there are out there. Make sure you get a hold of those. But thank you guys. We appreciate everybody that listens.
Everybody take care.